2 times a week in the gym?
Yeah, back when I was lifting. Yeah, it was twice a week. I mean, twice a day.
I mean, twice a day. What did I say? Twice a week?
Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah.
about habits I aspire to. I'm trying to get to twice a week.
Oh man, I'm trying to just get back to once a day, at least 5 days. But back then I was lifting. I was lifting actually too heavy, and I was just like, it's not good. It wasn't good for me. So I'm just like, I need to cut it back because now, not saying I'm an old guy, but at my age, I just want to stay chiseled and strong. Not I don't want to be huge anymore.
Yeah,
That's not cool for me.
trying to get scoliosis.
Yeah, man, I was pretty heavy for a little while when I was lifting. I was like, this is not cool. I don't want to carry this much mass.
And
So
there's a
I'm gonna bring it back down.
there was a comedian that used to tell a joke about he would go to his 24-hour fitness and he used to always laugh at the people like in there really getting it and he would say, dude, calm down, it's open 24 hours, bro.
And that was the thing. It's just like I don't know when we had the cancer scare in the family. It's like everybody became health nuts overnight because that's what
Yeah.
people do. You change. You have to change immediately. So I don't know. We kind of discussed this before, but for the listening audience and future folks, it was just like so. My father had stage 4 lung cancer. That's what finally took his life. But even before that, there were some things that started to appear and show up.
Mhm.
And I don't know how he actually processed it, or I mean, I know he went to the doctor. I know he took medication, and I know, but as far as his actual internal health and making a constant intentional stride to fix it, I don't know if he. I don't feel that he did it, fully. And my thing is this: I'm not knocking my old man. He did a lot of things right. He gave me a great example. He worked hard. He showed me how to think outside the box. He was very innovative.
Mhm.
Um, but when he was growing up in Southeast Texas, Kirbyville, Texas, his family was so poor that actually, if there was no food in the house, or there was nothing on the farm that you could actually eat, which is be vegetable or cow or pig, you have to go out and actually hunt it, bring it back, and then go through the process and then eat it. So that was his upbringing, his childhood. So he was used to having to survive.
Right, right.
Um,
That Boy Scout mentality, that Eagle Scout mentality.
exactly. So
Yeah.
when he got older and he started making decent money, he worked at DuPont. He was an electrician by trade. Then when he retired, he was in contract management. But in between that time, he had a janitorial company and he also had a construction company on the side. So that's how I learned to uh, be clean about my work environment from the
Mhm.
janitorial side, and then also the construction side as far as wiring, dismantling, demolition, sheetrock, roofing, framing, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Uh, and as time went on, I got into when I was in high school. I got into architecture when I was a sophomore in high school. And then it just took off from there. And I was like, I'm done with working with dad. I want to work with other people because, you know, when you when I saw that he and I could only get to a certain point of work, and I don't mean that as far as dollar signs. I meant that as far as the things that we can actually do together. I wanted to explore other options and do other things, and get it to where I knew a whole lot more instead of just what was in that small town. So I moved away from Orange, Texas, and I moved out to Dallas, and things just started clicking. I went back to school and finished my schooling here, and things started to take off. But I guess throughout that whole scenario, that upbringing, I had a lot of great examples, a lot of good things to fall back on. I just try to reflect on what he taught me, what my mother taught me. She was the nurturer. She was I mean, just very laid back and calm lady, sweet as she could be. And I've only heard her in my life raise her voice maybe about 3 or 4 times. That was it.
Yeah, that's
Ever.
a lot like my mother too, man. That's how what I grew up with as far as the mother, just very very chill and trying to keep things peaceful, and
Yeah.
super nurturing and loving. And, that really helped me a lot. But also at the same time, I think I could have probably used a little bit sterner. Um,
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
little bit wild, you know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
could have a couple more switches to the backside or something like that, like grandma
Oh
used
man. Oh
to.
man. I needed that.
Yeah.
My dad was the enforcer. He was the strict one. She kind of leveled him out a little bit. She at the times when she was like, don't be so hard on him that he gives up. At the same time, be hard enough to where he realizes he has to push himself.
Right.
So, there were three of us. I had two older brothers. And I think, throughout the first two, he learned a lot about not only their personalities, but his own. And then he finally got to me. And I think she did the same thing. She learned about a lot about their personalities and her own. And then they finally got to me and kind of had as my brother would say, he said, they had a different formula for you. I was like, well, if that's how you want to call it, that's what you say. But he was like, yeah, it was a different approach for you.
Hmm.
And I'm glad. I'm glad that it worked out the way it did. Um, but at the same time, it's like even now looking at us as adults, there are things that will always be traumatic in someone or someone else's mind. Always. There's always
Yeah.
going to be something they say, "Wow, this didn't go that well," and they may keep that in the back of their mind. And it's two choices that person can make at some point. They're going to say, either this is going to hurt me or it's going to help me. And very seldom do we find people say this is going to push me to get through whatever I have to get through. Because if I made it through this, that, and the other at that age, I can get through this right now at this age.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of it's like you have to make up your mind to accept, hey, this isn't working the way I want to. What can I do to change it? And then really analyze and look at your formulas and say, okay, what can I do to tweak it, turn it? If I have to rebuild it, worst case scenario, I'll rebuild it. But you have to say to yourself, I have to get past it. And it's about growth, personal growth and development.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that saying, pain is inevitable and suffering is optional.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
because
know
I
you losing your parents was just, and it
oh
happened
yeah,
close to each other, didn't it?
yeah, 2 years, 2 weeks apart. My dad died in March 30th of 2006, and my mom was April the 15th of 2008.
Oh wow,
So
that's been a little while for you then. I thought it was a little more
yeah,
recent than that.
no, it's been a little while. It has,
Yeah.
uh, but it's like I was saying earlier. Per person, that may feel like yesterday,
Yeah.
depending on who it is. Yeah, chronologically, it's a while ago, but depending on which son or which brother you ask, it's like, oh man, it still feels like yesterday. Or one may say, I'm doing better. You know what I mean? Uh, and another may say, yeah, I just focus on the positive and keep on moving. A lot of people say don't dwell on the past, but in this situation, I encourage people to dwell on stuff, the positive side of what you encountered. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. So did both of your parents have a growth mindset, or did they kind of operate more from a place of this is it and I'm satisfied
oh
mindset?
no, it was straight growth. It was always push, push, push. And dad was my dad was extremely he was a perfectionist. He likes stuff to be just so, and it that can help you or hurt you as an entrepreneur. So you can try so hard, so long, so whatever, blah blah blah, that you get caught up in details, and then you miss the whole project because you wasted time on something tiny.
Mm,
But it's getting it to where I'm not saying acceptable or mediocre type mindset. I'm saying do the best that you can of your ability within the time frame that you have, and then if things have to be tweaked or adjusted, go back and adjust it. But don't try to get it perfect because it's humanly impossible to be perfect. You can't.
correct.
You're not going to get there. At the same time, it's like do it to the best of your ability, and then constantly try to improve as you grow on through other projects and other whatever life changes. But it has to be a growing on. It can't just be I'm moving on to this. But have you changed mentally? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was that was one of the bigger things. It was weird. It was real weird because that's the only time in my life where I felt helpless. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But
Yeah. So with you
just
being, you being a successful architect and real estate developer and all of the things that you've done throughout your career, at that point in time, whenever that went down, where were you at
oh,
on that?
let me tell you, God, it's weird to say that because and right now, let me just say for the record, I cannot say I'm an architect in a public forum because that you can be fined for that. So I'm a designer, but
Yeah.
I am studying for my license right now, uh,
Gotcha.
and getting that done. But that's kind of here nor there. But
Mhm.
I've been in construction architecture for a number of years, 32 to be exact. Um, at that time, when my first parent got ill, and it was obvious they were ill, um, I was working for an architecture firm, and I was driving back and forth to Tyler, Texas, because that's where my father was in the hospital. And I was going back and forth so often, according to my supervisor, or I wasn't even my supervisor. Matter of fact, it was like the VP of operations, I guess. He said that I wasn't producing. And he may have been right. He may have, because I had so much on my mind. And actually I was laid off. And my father he was not gone yet.
Mhm.
I was just going back and forth so much every weekend to Tyler. It's only like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. But it was taking a lot out of me. And right before my father died, I got laid off. Now, at the time I was married, at the time, we were in our home and we had bills, we had cars, we had all this other stuff. And then we still had to take care of things for my mother who was still alive and take care of my father who was about to, pass away. So it was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot to deal with.
Man,
Uh,
that's a whole lot. Holy crap.
yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
I got through that. Um, he passed away. Um, I found another, place of employment, and I found out not too long after I was there that my mother was sick, and I remember exactly where I was when she told me she was sick. Dad had stage 4 leukemia. I mean, stage 4 lung cancer. My mom called me on the phone. She says, "I have leukemia," and I was
Oh,
like, "What?" I just sat there quiet, didn't say a word. And I'm thinking to myself, so I didn't want to say this, but I'm thinking that I've heard so many negative things about leukemia. Is there a chance of her survival? So I have a friend of mine that works with the hospitals a lot. Another friend of mine that is a nurse. Some other people around, hospital and medical. So I asked. I said, what do you know about leukemia? This is a mature lady that I see as like a mother figure to me. I said, what do you know about leukemia? She'd heard already my mom was sick. And I just kind of sprang this on her because I knew her personality. She wasn't going to say anything negative. So I just have to read her body language.
hmm.
And when I said it, her eyes got really big and they started to well up, and she got really quiet. And I said, okay, that's all I need to know. So I started to ask a few more people, and I kept getting the same response. So I started getting myself prepared right then for what was about to happen. And she passed away quickly after we found out she was only alive for another maybe 2 or 3 months. It's kind of the same way my dad was when I found out he was sick. 30 days later, he was gone.
Damn.
So that was the weirdest. That's the most helpless I've ever felt in my life,
Hmm.
ever. But I was sad, yes. At the same time, I was I guess just bent on being successful. And I was like, I'm not gonna let this stop me because if they were alive and saw me slowing down and becoming sad, they're like, what are you doing? don't slow down on my account. Keep going, you know?